Good afternoon. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain, and let's not forget mindfulness. And before we start today's episode of Lest We Forget and the U.S. Post Office and our glorious president from Time Magazine. I want to let you know that pwtrn is offering a new service. It is called Conscious Research Solutions. And what we do here at pwtrn is offer you research assistance. So, what do we provide? Well, first thing off, you get a 15-minute free consultation. Second thing you need to remember, and you'll get in return, is we provide, for start, basic research, which includes keywords, key phrases, a bibliography or the URLs that we use, or books or magazines, so you can find it and take a look for yourself. And then we write up a comprehensive summary of the information. And at the end, the conclusion of the meeting, what happens is you sign a contract to protect both of us, and you also fill out a client form in which you specifically tell us what you're looking for and how long you think it will take. Because there's always a time limit, but we'll go over all that. You can take a look at https:// passionateworldtalkradio.com. Click on services and you will see it. Conscious Research Solutions, basic research assistance for them who don't know how to research, for those who don't have any idea of how to even get looking for the material they want. And how many people know what a niche is? Well, you'll find out on our next daily tip. And speaking of daily tips, we have a new program. It's called Monday Daily Tips with Lillian, where I give you a daily tip on information that mommy never told you about, or daddy forgot to tell you, or things that happen and you should know before they happen so you can have it on hand. But we'll go more into that at the end of the program. So today we're doing Lest We Forget a article on the article that appeared in Time magazine. Trump says he may take control of the U.S. Postal Service. And these are some things you need to know. On Friday, our current president said he may put the U.S. Postal Service under the control of the Commerce Department, and which would be an executive branch takeover of the agency, which has operated as an independent entity since 1970. We want to have a post office that works well and doesn't lose massive amounts of money. Is that like a country where the present administration added over $777 trillion to our national debt even before he came into office? Oh, excuse me, I digress again. We're thinking about doing that, and it will be a form of a merger, but it'll remain the Postal Service, and I think it operate a lot better. He made those remarks at the swearing in of Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. He called the move a way to stop losses at the $78 billion a year agency, which has struggled to balance the books with the decline of the first class mail. He's got a great business instinct, which is what we need. And we're looking at it and we think we're going to turn it around, the president said. It's been just a tremendous loser for this country, tremendous amounts of money that they've lost. What he doesn't tell you is that it's a great way for the present president and any other following presidents to keep track of people who disagree with him or criticize him or won't share the sandbox with him because for various and sundry reasons that this show does not delve into. This post office has been operating since before the Revolutionary War, and it was a way of the authorities keeping track of who was with them or who was against them. Isn't that spying? Well, let's not go into fascist dictators so early in the program, shall we? The post office was created during the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia in 1775 when Benjamin Franklin became the first postmaster general. In 1872, Congress named it an executive branch department, but that changed after an 8-day postal strike over wages and benefits. Imagine that. Ah, the nerve. And when President Richard Nixon signed the Postal Reorganization Act, which made it an independent self-financing agency called the U.S. Postal Service. In recent years, it has struggled to stay afloat. It's fought calls from our current presidency and others that it be privatized. So who works for the USPS? The 1970 reorganization gave workers pay raises and the right to collective bargaining, helping generations of Americans, especially Blacks and other minorities, move into the middle class. Today, the USPS employs about 640,000 workers tasked with delivering mail, medicine, election ballots, and packages across the country, from inner cities to rural areas and even far-flung islands. They remain on duty during the coronavirus pandemic when the American Postal Workers Union says more than 200 postal workers died. So who runs it? Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, a Republican donor who owned a logistic business, so he knew how to run a business. Isn't that contrary to what our president just said? Anyway, he was appointed to lead the U.S. Postal Service during the first time of our current president in 2020. He has faced repeated challenges during his tenure, including the pandemic, surges in mail-in election ballots, and efforts to stem losses through cost and service cuts. He announced a 10-year turnaround plan last year, but earlier this week, he plans to step down and ask the Postal Service Board of Governors to begin looking for his successor. So who serves on the U.S. Postal Board and how are they selected? The board is made up of 9 members appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. No more than 5 members can come from the same political party. The current chair is Amber F. McReynolds, a former election official from Colorado. The vice chair, Derek Kahn, worked in the first administration of our current president. Both were appointed by President Joe Biden. 3 vacancies on the board remain after the Senate failed to vote on Biden's nominees to fill the seats. Appointed of the current 6 governors and the former president, who's now president again, 2. How is it funded? Since the 1970 reorganization, the USPS has been largely self-funded. The bulk of its annual $78.5 billion budget comes from customer fees, according to the Congressional Research Service. Congress provides a relatively small annual appropriation, about $50 million in fiscal year 2023, to subsidize free and reduced cost mail services. Amid challenges that include the decline in profitable first-class mail and the cost of retiree benefits, the Postal Service accumulated $87 in loss from to 2020. Last year, DelJoy announced a 10-year plan to moderate operations and stem losses, warning customers to expect uncomfortable rate hikes as the Postal Service seeks to stabilize its finances. Critics, including members of Congress from several states, have said that the first consolidation slowed service and that further consolidations could particularly hurt rural mail deliveries. How does the president view USPS? He has been a critic of the Postal Service since his first term in office. In 2020, he threatened to block it from COVID-19 relief funding unless it quadrupled the package rate it charges large customers like Amazon, owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos. Wait, isn't that the same people, Jeff Bezos and the other trillionaires, who are going to get tax cuts? In fact, he He plans to fund it by cutting Medicaid to people who really need it, not just lazy people. I would like to see him survive on minimum wage and on Medicaid, and then he can come back in 6 months and tell me how well he did. But of course, he won't because he considers himself privileged. Meanwhile, moving right along, he also owns the Washington Post, whose coverage rankles Mr. Who now president. More recently, the recent president mused in December about privatizing the service given the competition it faces from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, and others. It's an idea a lot of people had for a long time. We're looking into it. Oh, yes, well, you must do that. But I don't think privatizing it is going to make it much of a difference because it is what it is. And after all, folks, it's been up for what, 100, 250 years since the beginning of time, since this country was even before the Declaration of Independence was written and signed by John Hancock and the delegates. Well, something for you to think about. So, the U.S. Post Office. Let me know what you think. Call to action. Do you believe that it should be privatized? Contact us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com. Do you think it should remain the way it is, but the postal rates need to go up? Again, think about it. If it's no, contact us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com. And incidentally, who is using the postal? Well, usually the people who don't live in cities and mostly the lower middle class and the lower classes, and let's not forget the poor, as the Catholic Church keeps on reminding us, we always have the poor with us. That could be the retirees because a lot of us are reduced to eating the pet food that has come a long way since the 50s and 60s when they started first eating it. We want to thank those businesses that support us. One of them is podcast training, The Obstacles of. Check it out. Passionate education passionateworldtalkradio.com/. Course, 8 weeks, 45 minutes, interactive lecture. Then you have to put into practice what you just learned. You have the opportunity to create 3 podcasts, and then within a 3-week period, 1 podcast for each week. Come on, pwtrn, and broadcast it. And you get certified when you pass go and you collect your $200. Also, don't forget about conscious research solutions. You want the research done, but you're the great procrastinator. You don't have a clue of where to start, or more importantly, you just don't know how to do it because you never were taught. Lucky for you, I have 19 years worth of experience and I can get you up and running. Any type of research, personal, business, holistic, spiritual, it doesn't matter. I do a lot of research within my job of owning and operating an internet talk radio station. Contract, fill out the form. It's really quite simple. And the best thing about it is I even have a little help from Ruby AI. So check it out at http://AI with Lillian, LILLIAN.com, and see what the world is talking about. And thank you all very much for listening to today's program. And if you have anything that you feel like has been done before by Congress or by the Senate or even our presidents or different rulers, let us know. Tell me your idea. We'll do the research, see whether or not it holds up, and get it out. That is your call to action, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages. Thank you very much for listening. And remember, have a great weekend.